surprised you saved that. God, you can't take out Trevor anywhere. Jesus, just read the teleprompter.
It's right there.
Right there. No, in his defense, things got swapped around. We didn't want to come here to the post-game lobby as fast as possible. Of course, guys, do not despair. We will be talking to multiple members of Fnatic. Bwipo in just a bit with Laure. We'll also be talking to Broxah right here on PGL. But first, does that music keep going until I introduce you?
I'm digging it.
All right,
Maybe.
I'm here with Ender and Deficio so far, so then let me get a couple of first reactions from the series overall. Ender, Fnatic wins.
Fnatic, first takeaway is they lost a game. The win streak ended here, and Splyce were able to challenge them. I still think that Fnatic overall were certainly the better team on the day and are looking strong still going into Rotterdam. But on the other side of things, I was very surprised, and pleasantly so, by Splyce. I think every single one of their drafts felt very, very unique. They had new ideas they were bringing to the table, and that's not always something we say about Splyce, but ultimately it was very creative League of Legends, and for the most part, pretty good.
And competitive, yeah.
Right, yeah, I think it was good to see Fnatic get pushed a little bit more than in the quarterfinal, where it kind of felt like they had won the moment they sat down on stage, and we weren't 100% sure at what level they were actually playing, just because it was so easy. But I think this series, at least they got pushed a bit more. And I think especially in draft, they had to actually show adaptations. I think the last game, we thought it was Splyce kind of like, ooh, flexing around, and they're going to get the advantage with this. And then Sivir last pick, Vayne mid, now you have Sivir against Veigar and so on. Actually gave Fnatic a lot of really cool advantages.
What do you make of the fact that Nemesis took that Vayne mid? He did proclaim that it's his favorite champion even like a couple of months ago on Twitter, but it's just funny because of the whole Caps picking Vayne for Fnatic, and now Nemesis does it again.
I mean, it was a fun callback. Ultimately, I wasn't super impressed by the Vayne mid.
I thought it did great.
Yeah, it did its job, but ultimately, like, Nemesis was not the reason why they won that last game.
That's fair, that's fair. No. But overall, what do you think of the scariness level of Fnatic? And I'm just going to ask you specifically, Deficio, because I believe last time on PGL, you said that you didn't think they looked all that scary. I'm paraphrasing, so feel free to say...
Right, I made it clear that you shouldn't be scared of them, you should respect what Fnatic is doing. I think looking at today, it's not making me like more scared or anything.
But
you know?
What I was trying to get at, it felt like it wasn't that clean.
I don't think it was, but I also think Splyce was a big reason for that, because I think Splyce wanted to try and play pretty scrappy, and I think Splyce were ready to try and surprise draft into some unexpected strategies in the early game. You know, we had the lane swap. I think this game here, you know, with the jungle Hecarim, they tried to get a few big advantages with that, but it just didn't really work for them. So I think they tried to pull Fnatic down in the dirt and fight them down there.
Well, we'll get back to that in a second. Broxah will be joining us, but first we're going to go over to Laure because she is sitting down with Fnatic's top laner.
Thank you, Sjokz, and thank you, Bwipo, for joining me. Congrats on making it into Holland next week. That was a clean series from you guys, even though we had some... Okay, you don't agree here. Okay, I'll let you go first.
I don't feel like it was a clean series. I think most of us were pretty on edge today. We were pretty stressed. We could tell even in the comms, like in game one, like as soon as something went wrong topside, I felt that I was tilted, even though I had no reason to be tilted. Like normally, I would have no problem with tanking ganks like this, right? And just being like, you know, you want to come to my lane? I'll see you in 25 minutes when my Vayne gets items or whatever, you know. But in these specific games, I felt like all of us just were on edge, me especially, and it was a bit frustrating because I don't think that's what we need to show to win.
Okay, so tell me then, what was the biggest challenge for you guys today?
It was just making sure that in the draft we didn't end up in a weird situation that we hadn't played before. You know, it was like they forced it sometimes. It was like flexing Zoe 1-2 immediately. Going into game 3, I think game 3 they like picked Shen into Aatrox, which is like, whoa, you know? So it was just making sure we get a comfortable draft that we're happy playing. And once we got that, I feel like it was pretty clean.
About foreseeing you in these unusual situations, they lane swapped in game 2. How did you respond to it? Because we didn't see lane swap in ages.
Honestly, it was something we tested and checked last year. So 2018 Fnatic definitely had their own dabbles with it. So honestly, well, as soon as they locked in sound blind with the Braum Tristana, I think all of us should have been like, wait, isn't that what we do? So at that point, we should have known something was wrong because nobody is 4-5ing sound like this blind realistically.
Okay, so talk me through game 3 now, because you had a massive... Yeah, you're laughing. You know what I'm talking about. You had a massive lead, and then you decide to fountain dive when it would just end the game. What was that about?
Honestly, I felt really strong in the game, and I just said to my team, "Is like, if Sjokz has no flash, Azir has no flash, I'm just gonna go hunt them down and just one-shot them because I was a monster, right? I had so much damage, but unfortunately, I hunted too far. I came to the end of the earth in a way, I guess, and I fell off the cliff. So I don't know. It was even in the Jarvan game, I was doing this, right? The Corki, I was at the fountain. I have no idea why I was so stressed to do this. I feel like, honestly, most of the time, we would just win a fight, go back off the Baron, win the game. But I guess I got mind-controlled to int.
You know, right before the beginning of the interview, and even in the interview, you said that you played poorly this series, but you're the key player of the game.
What,
of the series? Yeah, of the series. Yeah.
Wait, why?
I wonder why.
What? I mean, okay, if you ignore what I did at the end of the Aatrox game, I feel like I played pretty well. I think the Cho'Gath game, I was like trying to keep the team together.
21% of defense.
The Jarvan game, I think I was straight liability. I was running it down. Like the whole game, like I was 0-3 for no reason at all. I was dying for no reason at all. I was fun diving for no reason at all. It was just pure int. And then the last game, I mean, me and Hilly back in the bot lane for a few minutes.
I know.
2v2, slam the guy. It actually reminded me because everyone was saying Hecarim's bot for sure, guy, for sure. And we're like, whatever, man. I'm just going, just kill this guy, whatever.
I mean, in the end, 41% of the votes go to you. And I even remember in the caster room, Deficio saying, okay, Bwipo is the shy on Aatrox. How does it make you feel?
I mean, honestly, that Aatrox game, the early game, I played really well. I feel like I was pressuring the Shen a lot in the lane. It was a really easy lane, I think. I feel like they kind of picked it for the sake of getting their bot lane ahead. Much like in game 2, they just like put all the eggs in the copy basket. And then they kind of see what happens topside and just try to survive type of deal. And then when they mess up the Shen ult, I got a really big advantage from all the assists and kills, and I just drove it home.
I feel like whenever you guys, you and teams in general, play a series, you have to learn something from it, right? So what did you learn in this series, especially against Splyce, because you never played them in this series?
I think what's important is that we need to work on our control, because I feel like we lost control when we should have it quite often in the series, as well as just the jitters, you know, it meant a lot to me to win the series. So I was just, I guess, trying to do too much instead of just backing off, taking the objective and winning the game.
Does it mean something special to know that you'll be playing in Holland next week?
Actually, I think it's really important because it's going to be the first event since World Finals. My mother comes to see me, and obviously, yikes.
What, yikes?
we got kind of smashed there, and I didn't really get to show her what it's like to see me winning. So getting another shot to show her how happy I can be and how glad I am to get this opportunity is really important to me.
You'll make your parents proud, I have no doubt about it. Now you'll be facing whoever wins between G2 and Origin tomorrow. Who is it going to be?
I mean, I think it's natural to bet for... I think it's natural to put your, like, if I had to put my money on it, put it on G2, because I feel like in a best of 5 series, the game can go either way. Like, for example, we played today, and in games like these, players like Caps, Wunder, Perks, Jankos, they can all make game-winning plays, right? They can just, Mickey X, of course, they can all make a really game-winning play. So if it's messy like today, which it might be, because again, there is some jitters, obviously less I think, because they're mostly thinking, we're already in Rotterdam, let's just hide as many picks as possible. But that said, I think I would put my money on G2, but I don't think Origin is going to go down without a fight.
So you will be facing Origin then. Is it something you feel confident about?
It's hard to say. Like, I can't just say that we're going to face either or the other. I think both teams are quite strong. And if they can pull up their A game, there's going to be a better series than we played today, that's for sure.
Well, we'll see about this tomorrow. Thank you, Bwipo, for joining me once again. And congrats on making it to semi-finals. Now back to you, Sjokz.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Laure, and thank you very much, Bwipo. In the meantime, we're also joined here by Broxah, who we will hear from at length. But can I first get your kind of first reactions? We heard that Bwipo didn't think it was that clean of a series. What do you think?
I definitely agree with that. In the first 2 games, we had some really, really rough early games, and game 3 was... I don't think I want to go too much into detail about that right now.
A rough late game, maybe?
That was a pretty sad one to experience. This last game was a little cleaner, but still, you know, a bit sloppy. So overall, I think it was a very sloppy series from us. And while I'm really happy we're going to Rotterdam and we made it to the semi-final, I'm also a little frustrated that we showed up so poorly today.
I'm actually glad you said it, because I was asking my analysts here, and I kind of have the impression that between Vitality game, where I think they made it easier for you than it actually was. And this game, where there's been definite moments that I thought, why are you letting this lead slip? How far do you think you're off from your peak?
I feel like if we look at today, we only were like playing at like maybe 50-60%. We made a lot of sloppy mistakes that we haven't made in practice and that we haven't made in the last part of the split. And generally looking back at our last stage games, I think we played pretty well, not only looking at Vitality, but just the past few weeks in general. And today, I don't know, something was just off, I feel like. Maybe we were a bit too eager to win the game, and when we finally had the leads, we just threw them away almost instantly. Maybe it was stress. I'm not sure what exactly, but we had an off day, we still won, so that part is really nice about it at the very least.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Ender, can you find yourself in that explanation? They can do better. Today wasn't one of those days?
Yeah, I think they certainly can. And for me, looking at the series overall, it wasn't like Fnatic played poorly or anything like that, because I think in a lot of the games, like Game 3 as a good example, like you guys were in full control up until, you know, maybe diving underneath the Nexus. So to me, I take that as, look, it's one big, giant, glaring mistake that's a relatively easy fix, I think, moving into more games. So I think Fnatic still look like a strong title contender.
Deficio wasn't scared of you 2 weeks ago. He said he's also not scared of you now. So that's that.
I guess.
There you go. I mean, I actually think Fnatic and Origin know each other very well at this point. There's been a...
But you guys, that means you scrim each other a lot.
Spoiler. Secret is out, you know. We didn't scrim G2 because we were playing them, so yes, we got Fnatic.
I mean, I'm sorry. I'm just stating the obvious, then, but sometimes that has to be done. You don't have to call me out like that.
No, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Like,
rap battle with you? Because I'll do it.
I will definitely not see in that
Please
rap
more.
battle, that's for sure.
Never mind. I'm sorry. Obviously, you've been scrimming each other.
Yeah, so I think both teams know each other very well, which is also why I don't think either of the teams will actually be scared of each other. I think both teams will be fairly confident going into it.
That should make for a good matchup if you meet.
I think, yeah, I mean, hopefully it's a Sunday matchup, which would be insanely hyped then. I think everyone would agree that an Origin Fnatic final. Oh, there's a couple of G2 members maybe who would disagree. But
Carlos is,
I surely agree for what it's worth.
right. I think, really? Do we just want to shake on it now? Do we just take it? Do we just grab that as the final? Okay, it's Origin versus Fnatic.
Okay, it's Origin versus Fnatic in the final. We'll take that for what it's worth. Bwipo was asked about G2 and OG, and he said that he thought that it seemed like G2 just has so many threats and so many players who can, when you need it the most, step up and make that game-winning play. When you look at Fnatic or you look at your team, do you think every one of your team has that capability as well, or is that kind of a different scenario?
I actually think we proved today that everyone on the team can carry. I think most of us had one game where we performed really poorly. Bwipo had the first game. I had the second game where I didn't really do anything on Rek'Sai. I think Huli had sort of an off game as well. Like most of us had like at least one game where things didn't really go our way, but at the same time, you know, there was this one game for each of us where we actually played really, really well. We did our job and where we really, you know, were carrying. I think Bwipo especially is a really prime example of that because he had a really rough first game, but then in game 3, I believe it was, he just completely rolled over them. And yeah, I think it's definitely one of our strengths that everyone can carry when it comes down to it.
I definitely prefer to win as a team. It seems to work really well for Origin, so you don't have to rely on that one guy who pops off.
Yeah, but I guess the idea is that
when it gets scrappy, it's really close.
There's one person who can turn that completely around.
I think actually on our side, whether people think we have that now or not, I think we have a lot of players really eager to show that they can actually do that, and a lot of players who were denied playoffs last year to get to show in these super important games. We didn't get to see Cole there. We didn't get to see Patrick more than that one series he played in spring with H2K that most people have probably already forgotten. So I think we have a lot of players there who really wants to show they can also do what we're praising G2 and now Fnatic.
Does it annoy you a bit that the way we talk about Origin is mostly there is no full star player, there is no standout player, it's a very good cohesive unit, and yes, Nukedog's name gets dropped very often. Does that bother you, or is it just fine?
No, it actually... When we built this team, we built it with the idea that we were going to be a smart, very strong 5-man unit. That was the entire goal of this kind of lineup. We didn't go out for like an import a big Korean name or something to try and say he's the star, everyone hype this guy or something. Oh yes, in this case. So we are playing the way we actually hope to see this team play. Where if you look at our last games in the regular season, you know, Fnatic were very clean in theirs. I think ours is the same. We gave 0 chances to the other team. And almost every post thread, if you were reading like community comments, were like, why is this other team never doing anything? The other team is just sitting there and waiting to die. I'm like, well, if it happens every single game, maybe that is part of the way, you know, we succeeded in regular season.
This is a great impression of the Redditors also. This
There you go, there you go. Luckily also we've had 3 weeks now, so no one even knows what happens tomorrow with Origin hiding all the strats for 3 weeks.
Cool little factoid. Today, there were 20 European players on the Rift. Or today, I mean just in this round 2, tomorrow, so today and tomorrow. In Rotterdam, we'll have 15 European players. It's purely Europe across the board, and I think that's just especially interesting, seeing what we see from the ERLs, from the Superliga, from the academy teams and everything. You know, there's just so much talent, and it just feels good. You know, the fact that it's all that European talent going up against each other, a lot of new guys, a lot of old guys, but not old, experienced. It makes
some of us are old.
It just makes it really
Some of us, Ender, you're like 16 or something.
I just mean it's nice for the future.
I mean, it absolutely is. And it's not like this should come as a surprise, I don't think, because even if you look at last year's Worlds, European teams had incredible showings. Fnatic made finals, G2 into semifinals as well. So it makes sense that we are able to field our own talent and still perform at the highest level.
Ah, you say "our." I love it.
I really like that the path towards becoming an LEC player is just getting better and better. A couple of years ago, either you had to promote in with the team through relegation, which obviously not too many did, but there were a few teams coming in that way, or you had to kind of get picked off based on most likely solo queue.
I actually think you had to be really lucky back then.
Right.
For me, for example, it was really hard to actually get the breakthrough, and the only reason I ended up on Fnatic Academy was because Nico was the head coach, and I knew Nico for a long time. And if I, didn't know Nico, if he didn't give me a chance to try out for the academy team, maybe I would be playing in whichever national league right now. And I think many players used to have that problem, and even now, it's still kind of tricky. But now you have some bigger tournaments and stuff. You can actually get scouted much easier.
Can I ask you something? Do you think if you weren't picked up by Nico then, and you waited and you played the national leagues now, do you think you would have found your way to the top as well, or not?
I think it's hard for me to say because I'm not really sure how much time I would have given myself to actually go pro. For me, to begin with, I actually took a year off, and I was actually looking for regular jobs and stuff while playing solo queue. At one point, I just said, whatever, I'm just going to go all in, and I'm going to give myself a year. And I'm not sure if at the end of that year, just playing in a national league would be good enough, or if I would have to actually end up in LCS to keep going, which is something I've thought about a lot actually, and it's pretty interesting, right? But yeah, it's so much about contacts and all this kind of stuff. I was really lucky. I had a really nice contact. So seeing the semi-pro scene, or whatever you want to call it, slowly improve is really nice to see.
Yeah.
I want to give him some credit here, though, and say it's not just luck, because a lot of players get the chance to show themselves in a tryout or by like performing when the right people are in the game, and they don't. Because they don't understand that now it really matters. Now you put in 100%, and then you end up impressing the right person, and you get your chance. But I generally think there's a lot of players in Europe who's not in the LEC right now, where the skill level in terms of just mechanical difference is not very big. So it's less about finding right now the one guy who's just mechanically better than everyone else, because there's very few of those, and it's more about finding players with the correct mindset. And players who are willing to go into a team, listen to his teammates, learn about how to be a professional player, and then really work super hard. And if you manage to do that, you're going to find yourself in a Broxah situation.
Yeah, I think Broxah did just that.
He did exactly that, where suddenly maybe some luck is involved. Oh, there's a spot on the main team now. This guy's working super hard. We like him. We're not going to go find another guy, go buy someone or whatever. No, move him in, give him a chance. And then you get your chance to shine. This can happen to so many National League players. Because, again, the mechanical difference, if you put them in on a big team and give them real practice against LEC teams, you're going to see a lot of players actually get fairly close to each other. Obviously not talking about reaching the top guys instantly, but at least the bottom or the average guys.
We have to move on in a second. Just a final question on that. I think, like you mentioned it, you had a contact, so that got you in there. You got to be plucked out of solo queue, or you need to know another pro player you're talking to. Do you think that level of kind of it's not really nepotism, but the fact that you only get in because you know people, is that slowly eradicating because we have such a good system now at the bottom? Is it really now about who deserves it and who's the best who rises up in these teams?
It will probably always be there.
A little bit.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
But I think it's a lot easier now to prove yourself. Like most academy teams will have dedicated people who are scouting around, doing open tryouts. And if you offer yourself in these open tryouts and you actually perform, that's your best way right now of getting scouted and not necessarily knowing the correct guy.
I also think Nemesis is a pretty good example of that, because no one on our team had actually talked to him or spoken with him or anything. Like, we didn't really know him.
Does he speak?
He does speak. But yeah, he just performed like a monster on Mad Lions, right? And we had our eyes on a few different people once we knew that Caps was not going to stay anymore. He was one of them. And, you know, if he didn't have this EU Masters tournament, and if he didn't perform so well in the National League, then, you know, things would be very different. So having these type of, you know, pretty strong leagues and EU Masters actually helps a lot for people to get scouted.
It definitely does. EU Masters is, of course, in a couple of weeks. We'll be very much looking forward to that. And who knows, someone will make a pentakill in EU Masters and they might be in the summer split. Who knows? We can only think. But let's take a look at the bracket. It is now filled out just a little bit more. And now we also know that officially Fnatic will be playing on the Saturday in the semi-final versus the loser of G2 or OG. The winner of G2 OG goes straight through to final on Sunday and will then play the winner of Fnatic versus G2 or OG. Also very importantly, if you were doubting if you wanted to get a ticket or not, get them, because you know you're going to see Fnatic now if you are a fan. So that should be really easy. eu.llesports.com/Rotterdam. Fantastic. Broxah, also maybe holistically, you of course played on so many big stages in your career already. Is it nice to know that next week you'll be again on a massive stage with undoubtedly so many Fnatic fans screaming?
It feels really amazing. I think, you know, out of all experiences, playing on those big stages is by far the coolest. I remember every time I played on those big stages. Obviously, Copenhagen last year was a highlight for me. That was really, really amazing as a Dane. But just generally, you know, getting to play on those big stages, and this year even having 2 chances to play on the big stage if we win on the Saturday as well, makes it even better, right?
Super exciting, actually.
And we get Fnatic,
Yeah.
G2,
Yeah.
and Origin.
That's great.
Can you ask for anything else? And yes, I know there are 7 teams saying ask for them, but in this case, you cannot ask for anything else but Fnatic, G2, and Origin in Rotterdam.
I like to not be biased, but from a storytelling perspective, this is like, oh, this is so good, obviously. I mean, I think it would have been also very cool if Splyce would have made it, because they, you know, they would be back at their level from 2016. I think if they played better, it could have been possible, but this is what we're left with, and we're not going to complain. So then, I think Bwipo already touched on it. He said you have to give G2, of course, the benefit of the doubt when it comes to that matchup, but it could also very well be OG. Broxah, do you have any thoughts about who will win?
I'm actually really unsure, honestly. Obviously, I have Deficio here next to me, so I have to be a little careful.
Oh,
but,
yeah, you do.
But at the same time, I would give a small edge to G2, but I think it could go either way.
I think the edge is smaller than we think it will be, because if you have like best G2, then yeah.
What are we at, 55,
well,
45?
if we look at what we've seen the past weeks, then Origin definitely looks stronger than G2, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm sure that G2 have been picking themselves up and actually improving some of those aspects here in the recent weeks. And I don't know, I really think it could go either way, and I think it's going to be a 3-2 for either team, giving a small edge to G2.
We have a bit of info. G2 has chosen blue for their first game. Does that... What will happen in the first game, Ender? Tell me.
I don't know. These teams had 3 weeks to prepare for this. Ultimately, what my biggest question coming into this matchup is, what form do we see G2 in? Is it Mickey X or Promise Q in the bottom lane? Is this the G2 that dominated the first half of the split? I don't think so. I think their last few weeks were pretty rocky. So when I come into this series and I'm betting on a team, even though G2 were the first seed, I bet on Origin in a 3-2 again, because when I see Origin, I see consistency. I see a team where I know exactly what I'm going to get, and ultimately, I don't know what I'm going to get with G2, so I think the safer bet is with Origin.
Okay, Deficio?
I mean, I guess I agree. I don't know. I've such mixed feelings about this, because part of me is nervous, but the other part is just really hyped and excited. Not watching us play for 3 weeks really kind of suck.
I mean, you've watched the scrims probably, yeah?
I
You
mean,
not get to watch that on your level of.
sadly, not too often actually. But that's not enough for me, right? Like
Yeah.
I want to see the team on stage. I want to see the form continue from the end of the regular season. And you know, I have no issue with people saying small edge to G2 and so on. Like they had a great regular season for most of it. So I'm actually just excited. I'm extremely proud and happy we are playing in this winners match or whatever we call it. I think it's like 4 different names.
Winners match.
Do we call it the
Let
winners match?
Let me double check, but I'm also not sure. about
Whatever
the
we call it,
nomenclature.
I'm really excited we get
The
to play
Super
there.
Hype AF match. Well,
Yes, that one.
That's the official
No,
name.
yeah.
Nice name. I
So-
approve.
Oh, we call that? That's not the
That's also
semi-final.
the semi-finals
Semi-final is
next
the
week.
one Fnatic
Yeah.
plays.
Production's
We're
trying
getting
to flip
baited
this
by
up.
production.
Next week, Saturday, is the semi-final, guys. Actually, you can send us your suggestions. It's round 2, match 2.
That's not hype.
Now, top tier match. I like it as well, but if you have a better idea, tweet it at LOL Esports.
Isn't this technically just because it
Kings
is?
match.
It's a winners and losers bracket. There's just only 2 teams in the winners bracket, so this is just the winners.
Yeah,
final.
this is a top tier match. Sounds pretty good because it's the best teams from the regular season's match, but that's
Yes.
a little long.
See, now I got out of my answer as well, which is great. I'm just excited.
Great, great stuff. Also, OG, G2 Esports, and Fnatic are all locked in for Rift Rivals. Yay! It's also great.
Yay!
So that'll be cool. But
Good
that's
luck,
in a while.
guys.
Of course, we're thinking about the trophy. We're thinking about MSI as well. I just want to ask Broxah one final question because we never get to hear from him. Nemesis actually promised us that he would do an interview if you win the split. So we're holding out till then. But
Yeah. Put him in front of 10,000 people in Rotterdam with a
I
mic.
think it'd be fine.
There you go. First
I
interview.
actually think he'd be fine because he's consciously not wanting to do one, right?
Yeah,
But
he's gonna be fine.
How has it been with him and the team? The split, how has he evolved? I want you to basically tell me about him since we can't hear from him.
Well, I think he has evolved a lot during the split. In the beginning, he was pretty shy. He did state his opinion and stuff, but throughout the past few months, he has started feeling more comfortable in the team. He's starting to talk more both in and outside the game, taking a lot more responsibility. And I think his growth and him starting to open up has been a big part of why we've been able to turn things around and part of why me and him have, slowly along the way been starting to work really well together as well. And yeah, I'm just really, really happy with how he has evolved. And I think we definitely did not make a mistake picking up this guy. He's a great asset to the team. I'm happy.
I think you're right. We called him Nemi, by the way. I think Reckless
Yeah.
pitched
Nemi.
that nickname, but it is true, and we're looking forward to how we will evolve and how you guys will evolve. A lot of more League of Legends this weekend. For instance, the OPL. The finals are coming up tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. European summertime. You can tune in and watch Order and Bombers fight for the title. It's a very exciting match with the Wolves Dynasty coming to an end and Order sweeping playoffs, going from 5th seed all the way to the finals match. You can catch that tomorrow at 7 a.m. if you're in Europe at twitchtv.com. That's not true, twitch.tv/Riot Games. And then coming up at 12 a.m., we've got that's actually not, so in 2 hours. No, in an hour and a half. This is a lot.
Nice.
The LCS Academy Finals between TSM and Cloud9. And if you then still want more, we'll also have the rebroadcast of Fnatic versus Splyce. So to break it down, in an hour and a half, you can go watch the Academy LCS, and then you can watch the rebroadcast, and then you can watch OPL, and then you can watch OG versus
When are we
G2.
supposed to sleep?
Never.
What do you mean?
There's just
Also-
too much
We
League of
don't
Legends.
If Order loses tomorrow, you have to tweet at Spawn and laugh at him.
Yes.
He did, however, tell me he doesn't, they're probably not favorites because Bombers have only lost
Blah, blah,
2
blah, blah, blah.
games all game. But I just want to show my OPL knowledge right there.
Sick analysis,
Wow,
bro.
you know Spawn. Congratulations.
I do know Spawn, and he annoys me by whining to me all the time.
Okay, great. On that note, a good night, everyone. This was a great chat. Broxah, thanks for joining us. Deficio, good luck tomorrow, dude.
Don't even need it.
Don't even
No,
need it.
thank you,
Thank
thank you.
All of you, I hope you enjoyed PGL, and we will see you tomorrow for G2 versus OG, and let's get a sneak peek at that match.
Hey, nice. Can we go? No, coming. Good fight. Two flashes. We can rush.
There's a teleport being committed. Vizicachi's going to throw down those accelerated shock blocks on the side. Norscara's being burned low. Broxah's kill in and amongst the pit. That's a stun onto Xerxes. Double Nexus turrets down. There's simply not enough pressure. Reckless alone should be able to finish this one off. The Nexus goes down. Fnatic press the win button. He's in a 3 versus 1. The tower's coming to help out. Rupture will tag up Norskeren. Bwipo's turning it back around to the Feral Scream and another fantastic Rupture. KLLT comes down by some seconds. Take a look at that. Delivers the chop to Cobby.
Okay. Hide kill.
Okay. I'm coming,
He's one HP. Nice, you're going.
Coming.
Oh, this is really good.
I'm taking the turret. Oh, get the fuck out of my face.
Hennessy dumps all the way forward. Fnatic is split up, but it's already cost them. Broxah has gone down. Reckless has gone down. Nexus! They're going for the Nexus. Cobby flashes back there defensively. Bwipo's going to try to use that well then. That's going to bring it back up. The Nexus is being focused. That's a kill to Reckless. Fnatic have done it. From Ideal burst was used rather. Bwipo will buy some time, maybe just enough to help get a kill to Xerxes. Bwipo survives the onslaught of shadows. Cobby is trying to run away. The event horizon is not working. Primordial boost does not have enough damage. Splyce put up a good fight. They improved and impressed, but it's Fnatic that will have the last laugh. It is Fnatic that has earned the right to defend their title in Rotterdam.